If you're thinking about making the move to sunny Tampa, Florida, where we use our shovels to build sandcastles and salt for our margaritas, well, you're in the right place. My name's Adam Morjon with the #1 relocation team in Tampa, Florida, and today we have an awesome overall video on the Tampa area. Be ready to take notes, pause the video, fast forward and rewind because this video will be a phenomenal guide for you. When moving to Tampa, Florida, it's easy to get caught up in the endless things to do and you look at the beaches and the theme parks and think, I can't wait to get down there. But I've seen so many people choose the wrong area. So the plan today is to jump on the map and talk about the major roadways and how to get around. Driving 20 to 30 minutes a day to get to work is not the end of the world to some, but driving an hour or more because you didn't do your research could really wear you down over time. Then we'll discuss some of the best places to live in Tampa. We'll touch on the neighborhoods in the city as well as the Tampa suburbs. Really a little of everything so you get an idea of what every area has to offer. By learning each area, you'll be able to start ruling out certain areas that don't work for you, allowing you to now focus on the areas that are a better fit for you and your family. Along the way, I'll be transparent with you and I'll share the pros and cons of living here, and with the entire nation just feeling some inflation pains, I think it's only right to touch on the cost of living. These are the four, or at least four of the most important things to know when choosing to relocate to a new area. And being born and raised here, I'm your best Tampa real estate resource. So get ready because we're jumping into it right now. A little intro for those of you that don't know me yet. I'm Adam Morjon and welcome to my channel. We cover everything there is to know about the Tampa Bay area, including the best neighborhoods and things to do, so you can get a real good feel for what it's like living here. In today's video, we're touching on 4 of the most important things to know if you're planning on moving to Tampa, Florida. If at the end of this video you leave wanting more information about where you should live in Tampa, community suggestions, or you're like, hey, I want this Adam guy to be my realtor, well, I am a licensed realtor, so see that number on the screen? Give us a call, shoot us a text, or send us an email, and my team and I would be happy to help you and your family find your next home. Part of understanding Tampa is knowing the roadways and how to get around. This also helps you understand the different areas and proximity to things which will come in handy when it's time to narrow down the best place to call home. Looking at the map, let me highlight the 5 major highways that will help you get in, out, and around the city. I-275 starts near the northern suburb of Wesley Chapel, takes you south into downtown, makes a sharp turn west, and forks. If you stay on 275, you can cross the bridges that take you into St. Petersburg and to the beaches, or you have the option of connecting to the Veterans Expressway, which is a toll road that will take you north and stretches along the western side of Tampa. This forms a nice U shape around Tampa and will be your most used routes. Other major roadways to consider would include I-4, which cuts across Central Florida, passes Disney World into Orlando, and drops you right into downtown Tampa. From here, you'll have the choice to connect to I-275, or if you want to skip the traffic and make your way down to South Tampa or MacDill Air Force Base, you can hop on the Leroy Selman Crosstown. And FYI, this is a toll road. If you decide to go on a road trip, running north and south to the east of Tampa is I-75. This does connect to I-4 and 275, so if you live in our southeastern suburbs, many times you'll use this to get into Tampa, and same goes to the northern suburbs like Wesley Chapel and Land O'Lakes. I-75 will be your major expressway if you plan on leaving Tampa, and it can get you down to South Florida and runs as far north as Michigan. Last but certainly not least, Dale Mabry Highway is a 6-lane highway that runs north and south through the middle of Tampa and will be your major roadway within the city, outside of the interstates, of course. The rest, well, it's just getting to know your back roads. Now here are some local Tampa traffic tips. When driving on the interstate, the right lane is pretty much the slow lane. This lane is for semis and pretty much anyone that wants to drive at the speed limit or slower. The middle lane is for the average Joe, and going a few miles over the speed limit, it's not too abnormal. The left lane, well, that's the passing lane or the NASCAR lane. This is not the lane to stay in for long term. This is the let's pass someone in the occasional, let's see what type of engine this thing has, but you didn't hear that from me.
We'll keep it our little secret.
If you're heading over the bridges to the beach, it's a pretty drive, but either go early in the morning and plan to be there before 9:30 a.m. or head there after around 3 p.m. to avoid the bottleneck as you approach the beaches. I-4, well, I'm not gonna lie to you, my wife is not allowed to plan trips to go to Orlando, leaving Tampa anytime after noon on a Friday. Guaranteed you will have delays, and I can't take anxious Disney kids in a car for any longer than needed.
I'm going to Disney.
I've seen everything from a 30-minute delay because someone was changing a tire and just everybody had to stop and look, all the way to an emergency hot air balloon landing that just wrecked everything. So just don't do it. The Veterans Expressway and the Crosstown, they're a breeze and will be your friend. And I travel on Dale Mabry Highway all the time. But I will warn you, locals avoid the intersection in downtown where I-4 and 270 connect to downtown because during heavy traffic hours, it's called Malfunction Junction. Outside of heavy traffic times, it's really not that bad for a mid-sized metro. So now that we know how to get around and we have some driving tips and when not to drive certain routes,
road trip master,
where are the best places to live in Tampa? Well, that's a loaded question because everyone has a different set of wants and needs that will determine where they end up living. But let me give you some good insight of the different areas around Tampa so that you have a good place to at least start. In the city, South Tampa is the sweetheart. It's the affluent epicenter of the city. You'll pay a premium to live in South Tampa, but it has the highest concentration of boutique restaurants, shopping and entertainment, amazing schools, and it's easy to get around because you have easy access to all the major interstates and, of course, downtown. Speaking of downtown, our downtown has come a long way, and I dare say it's pretty amazing. You can live, work, and play in our downtown, and it's a pretty happening area. Some would say to avoid downtown areas in some cities, but not Tampa. Downtown Tampa, the Channelside area, and the Tampa Riverwalk are all somewhat newer to the city and have become a great attraction for those of you living here. Moving north, just outside of the city limits, the greater Carrollwood area, being built in the 1960s and 70s, could be considered one of Tampa's first true suburbs. The communities are closer to what you would see in our master plan communities today, with the subdivisions and amenities like parks and playgrounds, sidewalks and tree-lined streets. The community is well established in a quarter-acre lot. It's not that uncommon to find. My mom lives in Carrollwood, and the kids love visiting to go to the new Carrollwood Park, and sometimes they head over to Lake Carroll to see if anyone's boating on the lake. In the 90s, West Chase came on the scene and wore the crown in the west of Tampa. It has a great golf course and a small village or main street where residents can grab a coffee or go to dinner. If you're looking for a well-established community with a little taste of Pleasantville, West Chase, it might be a good option for you. Up until now, I have only mentioned older areas, and that's because we don't have new home communities within the city. The city is where everything started, and as the population grew, developers built outwards, and present day is where you'll find new construction in our suburbs to the north of Tampa and to the southeast of Tampa. So let's make our way north and see what we have. To the north of Tampa, we will come across a nice mix of older homes in well-established neighborhoods, some homes with a little more land, and possibly a rural feel, and of course, new construction communities. The main suburbs to the north of Tampa would be Odessa, Land O'Lakes, Lutz, and Wesley Chapel, and are part of Pasco County. Throughout these suburbs, you will find many of the same home builders, but what's important to look for is the amenities in the area and the vibe each area has to offer. For example, if living near the airport is important to you because you travel often, you definitely want to live closer to the western side near the Veterans Expressway, as it will get you to the airport faster. And many that like the action but want to be out of the city fall in love with Wesley Chapel. I personally lived in Cheval, located in Lutz, for a handful of years, and it's absolutely amazing. It's probably one of the safest communities in all of Tampa, being guard gated, has some of the best schools with Steinbrenner, but what we loved the most living there was the wildlife, as it somehow just mixed in so easily. We lived on the golf course but still had rabbit and deer visit us every day. I always preach to do your homework on where to live because as perfect as Cheval was to call home, it wasn't home for my family and it didn't fit our lifestyle, and we ended up moving after 3 years. If you're looking in the northern suburbs, Starkey Ranch in Odessa, Bexley and Land O'Lakes, and Epperson and Wesley Chapel, which is home to the nation's first Crystal Lagoon, are all great starting points. Keep in mind, the list of great communities go on and on, so if you're interested in specific communities in the Tampa Bay area, head over to my channel because we shoot detailed community videos also. And if new construction homes are your thing, email my team and get on the new home inventory list as we update the inventory and the prices weekly, allowing you to stay up to date with things. Sticking with the suburbs, let's head over to the southeastern suburbs. The suburbs of Riverview, Brandon, Valrico, and Bloomingdale were all very popular in the 90s and the early 2000s, But Apollo Beach and Lithia are getting a lot of love and attention now with the communities of Waterset and Fishhawk Ranch. Newland Communities was the developer for both of these communities, and if they look familiar, it's because they also developed Bexley that we just covered in Land O'Lakes. All three communities have every bell and whistle you could want, schools in the communities, parks and playgrounds, perfect Florida landscaping as you drive through the neighborhoods, the resort-style pool and clubhouses, which end up being a great place to meet neighbors and new friends. In these areas, you'll find a ton of new construction, but pay more attention to the school zones in the southeastern suburbs, as they are not as consistent as the northern suburbs. Now, this is not a warning, as much of it is a tip to do your homework if that's a priority for you. Things are headed in the right direction, but it's more common to find a great middle school, but then the elementary may be lacking or vice versa. So do your due diligence as you would with every area. I always suggest going to niche.com or greatschools.org if you aren't familiar with the Tampa Bay area. Across the bridge to Pinellas County, you will have our sister cities of St. Pete and Clearwater, and smaller great areas like Palm Harbor, Dunedin, and you can't forget we have some of the best beaches in the world, in case you didn't know, so maybe you want some beach living. St. Pete has had the most changes over the last decade, and it is the new hotspot to be. The downtown is thriving, the historic neighborhoods have come back to life, and the restaurant scene, it's popping. For a more detailed look at what St. Pete has to offer, make sure to watch my videos like this one and this one, because I cover some of the best areas to live, including some of the top attractions in St. Pete. All right, lightning round. What are some of the pros and cons of living in Tampa? Starting with a negative, everyone and their mother is moving here. No, really, the mom, the dad, the whole family. So traffic is picking up as you have to drive everywhere to get around. My tip is to learn the back roads and traffic patterns, and you'll be just fine.
Very bright.
It gets hot in the summer, but hot is truly confused with humid. It never really gets over 95 degrees, but it is humid, so you will feel it differently. Grab a margarita and make the pool your friend, and you'll be fine getting through summer. If you're from a colder area, give yourself a summer or two, and you'll be shocked at how fast you acclimate to the heat. Home insurance has increased over the last few years due to roof insurance claims being the main culprit. Regardless of the reasons though, you should know that you have to replace your roof at around 20 years of age, so if you're buying a home, factor that into the plan. Okay, so here are some pros. If you purchase a new home, insurance is dirt cheap because there's less risk. I recently helped a buyer get an annual premium of $1,000 for home insurance for a 4-bedroom home because it was a new home. That's nothing for home insurance. Outside of the summer months, July through September, the weather year-round is absolutely amazing. Pool days in February and outdoor activities like golf and fishing and festivals, all 12 months of the year. The people are welcoming. And there's a mixed bag of people that live here. It's not just the North, and it's not the true South. It's Florida. It's a melting pot of people that come to live here for the fun and sun, and that's exactly what you get. While there's a ton of fun to be had, we also have a booming economy, attracting everything from small businesses to Fortune 500 companies. If you're a sports fan, like me, we have 4 professional teams locally: the Bucks, the Lightning, the Rays, and the Rowdies. No matter if you're an adult, a kid, or looking for a place to just relax and retire, Tampa could be your playground. One last big question everybody wants to know is, what about the cost of living? I can't sugarcoat that. Things have gotten pricier. But depending on where you're from, it may still be affordable. Keep in mind, Tampa is the 2nd largest metro in Florida and the 18th largest in the country. If you're moving from a place like New York or California, you might actually laugh at how affordable things can be. But if you're coming from a small town in, let's say, Indiana, then it may seem very costly. I would say 2 of our biggest expenses at the moment would be car insurance and home insurance. For a 2,500 square foot home in the city, I've seen insurance premiums as high as $6,000 a year, whereas the same brand new house in the suburbs might only be $1,200 to $1,400. I have an F-150 and my wife drives a Honda Pilot, and we pay around $1,500 combined every 6 months for our car insurance. Utilities have also been on the rise recently. I live in a 1970s home and my electric bill averages around $260 per month. Keep in mind, I do have a pool, which increases that bill. The same bill on a new construction home would be around half, as they do build them a little more energy efficient nowadays. If you are planning on moving to the Tampa Bay area, there is so much to know that it can just feel overwhelming. Hopefully this video gave you a nice head start on things, but I'm sure you still have plenty of questions. So see that number on the screen? Give us a call shoot us a text or send us an email because my team and I would love to not only answer your questions, but help you and your family find your next home. So until that next video, I'll catch you later.